Tim and I'm talking to.
This is Tucker from Morbid Angel.
Awesome, definitely. I guess the very first question I've got is, growing up, who were your major influences to get you into music? Who did you look up to, and what was your very first instrument?
People I looked up to would have been, of course, like my surrounding people, my parents. My mother was a young mother, so I was exposed to a lot of music that way. And then, people around her, because she was young, there was a lot of young people around, and it was the 70s, dude, and
right.
Music was kind of everywhere and kind of meant a lot to people. You know what I mean? Yeah. What was the second part of your question? I apologize.
As far as like the very first instrument, what was your very first instrument that you got?
The first instrument I got was I traded a toy. I can't remember what the toy was because obviously it was irrelevant to me. I traded it for an acoustic guitar to like a kid when I was like maybe 5.
Right.
And that's the first instrument I ever had. And actually, like my mom tried to make me trade him back, and his dad said it was okay, and I ended up getting to keep the guitar, and that was the first guitar I started to figure out shit like Smoke on the Water and things like that on, when it was in tune,
Definitely. What's your favorite song to play for Morbid Angel?
Oh man, the song "Nothing Is Not's always been cool, man. From Formulas, that's always like been a really great live song. Summoning Redemption from Gateways, God of Emptiness, Rapture, pretty much anything from Covenant's going to be great. People love it. Man, I don't know, dude. It's like when I'm going up there, I don't necessarily have a favorite. It's just like, this is the list, this is what we do, and we kind of flow through it. It's kind of it's all a vibe thing. So, man, I was a fan of Morbid Angel before I was in Morbid Angel. So, lately we've done a little bit of stuff from Blessed and Authors, and, I love that shit too, man. It's fun. It's fun as hell, to do like Blasphemy the Holy Ghost, dude. I mean, come on. I did that shit, in a band room with my buddies, fucking 30 years ago,
Right. What was your very first and favorite experience with Morbid Angel as far as like playing in front of a big crowd? What was that like?
Well, the very first show I ever did with Morbid Angel was in Amsterdam, man. And it was in front of us, it was a sold out show. And, to be honest with you, dude, it was kind of a blur, man.
Wow.
We really honestly, we were prepared, dude. We worked our ass off on Formulas. That was when I was really getting to know Pete and Trey. So we spent a lot of hours, man, like in a jam room, playing together, working on songs, fine-tuning ideas and things like that. And by the time we toured for that, we were pretty fucking tight, man. And Rutan came in, ended up being, the guitar player, and he only had a week, but it was already tight with Eric because Eric's fucking brilliant. And, the first show's Amsterdam, sold-out show, man, and it was just a whirlwind, brother. It was just humongous. Every song, when it ended, was a huge, crowd reaction, and, right until the next song started, and it was great, man.
Awesome. Definitely awesome. I always ask this question to every band and see the reaction. But, when we were growing up, we had Metallica, we had a lot of bands, Possessed, we had Suicidal, we had, just a ton of bands that, basically set the foundation for thrash and death metal and so forth like that. But now that we're in 2019, it's going to be 2020 here in a little bit. These bands have lasted almost 25, 30 years. And there are, like Slipknot and some other bands like God that have lasted around 30 years as well. But do you think bands coming out nowadays will have that opportunity to maybe even last 30 days or even more? Or do you think the music industry, there's just so many bands that it's not possible?
Man, I have no fucking idea. To be honest with you, dude, if you would have told me 30 years ago that death metal would have still been, going right now, I would have probably laughed my ass off, dude.
Right.
I would have probably just, I would have just laughed my ass off because, dude, it was just such an extreme idea to start with. From the minute go when the first, death metal albums started coming out, Death and Morbid Angel and Obituary and Deicide, I mean, from the get go, dude, and then the Swedish bands, Unleashed and all this. I mean, dude, it was just a bam, man. And I mean, if you would have said, yeah, dude, a lot of these bands will still be going 30 years from now, or they'll be back together doing it again, because a lot of these bands didn't go the whole time. Like Obituary, for instance. I'm not trying to insult Obituary at all, but they took a hiatus for a while.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's quite a few bands that have done that. And actually, dude, I think that it's great. It just goes to show, though, man. Like when the music came out, I mean, it was legit. Yeah, it's heavy. Yeah, it's extreme and all this, but it's legitimate music, and that's original legitimate music. I think, man, that's what makes things last. And I mean, it is what it is. So I think, yeah, there will be bands that come out next week that will last 30 years. Absolutely, I believe that wholeheartedly. Will every one of them? No, probably 1 in 1,000. But there will be one that'll probably do it, just like, this. I mean, man, everybody forgets how many death metal bands there were at one point.
Oh, yeah.
There were a fuckload of them, brother. There were a fuckload of them.
How does there's another question. How does back in the day when we had like record stores? I mean, I even remember going to a record store, and I'm sure you did the same thing. Went to a record store and you picked up an album. You didn't even hear the music. You didn't even know what they fucking sounded like. You just picked up the album because the album cover looked fucking cool. Nowadays you don't have them. You don't have record stores anymore. This is all digital. Does that impact, or how much does that impact? Even a touring band, how much does that impact nowadays? Because fans don't, they can't go to a record store if they have that on their phone nowadays. Does it limit that, or does it help it?
I don't know, dude. I think in a way it all evens out, dude. I think back then, you had tape trading, and you had record stores, and you had the people that you thought were cool that you looked up to, and that's where you got your music and stuff like that from. Now, dude, they have the internet. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? We never had the internet, and I mean, in a way, it's a good, in a way, it's a bad. I mean, the internet, you could sit and debate that shit all day long, and honestly, I would probably agree with both sides the whole fucking time. You know what I mean? Like, there's good and there's bad with the internet, but it's the same with you really only learn the music that's kind of popular in your area. You know what I mean? Like for instance, in my neighborhood, dude, Pantera was way bigger than say like Corrosion of Conformity, or Pantera was way bigger than a band like I don't know, Typo Negative or something like that. And Pantera's music kind of ranged through in my neighborhood at 18 years old, dude. It was kind of a thugs, kind of redneck music, and that's kind of the area where I'm from. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, that's what it is.
What's your favorite bass to play now?
Oh man, I just got one delivered to me like 2 days ago that I cannot wait to bring on stage, man. It's taken about a year and a half to get built. I started talking to this guy a year and a half ago. He brought me out wood to pick for the neck and the fretboard, and then a year later he brought me out, then we did some online back and forth, sending drawings to each other, and then next thing you know, the thing's built, got delivered to me, and one of my very good friends finished it for me, man, and I absolutely can't wait to play it, man. It's I called it the T369 for Tesla, dude. I really read quite a bit about Tesla, and he kind of I don't know, man, it kind of bewilders me,
Right. Definitely. As far as stuff coming up this year or next year, do you guys have anything planned going on, or do you have more tours, or?
Man, they're constantly talking about stuff, and at some point, you got to start writing new songs and things like that. So, we're going to finish. This is the last thing we're going to do. We're about to do this run with Tane and an Incantation. That's going to finish out 2019, and then I'm really not certain exactly how 2020 is starting out just yet.
Definitely.
We're still a couple months from that, you know what I mean? So for them planning stuff.
Absolutely. And as far as your favorite concert you've ever been to, like you played, what was your favorite like place to play?
Oh man, I mean, I mean, we've done some really awesome festivals, man. You know, and to be honest with you, there's a bunch of them that were my favorite just that day, man. I was like, this one was the most fun I've ever had. And then you do another one that's the same, you know what I mean? So honestly, man, just the summer, the festival season in Europe, dude, honestly, for a musician, that's like that's what you wait for. You know what I mean? So doing just festivals in Europe as a whole, man, that's always just a high that's hard to match, you know?
Absolutely, definitely, absolutely. When you guys are creating an album, do you guys do it as a joint collective, or is it just individually done by different people?
It's both. It's honestly both. Trey does a lot of stuff on his own. I do a lot of stuff on my own. I kind of get mine's a double plate, because not only am I working on music, but I'm also starting to try and get ideas for things that Trey is sending me. You know what I mean? So it's kind of it's whichever's flowing for me, dude. If the vocal part of it, you know, lyrics and things are flowing, that's where I go. And if I feel like writing, man, I write. You know what I mean? So it's with Morbid, it's never really the fastest process. A band like Cannibal Corpse, dude, they do an album every couple of years. They do a touring cycle, and then they do, you know, Morbid, it's always a little bit more stretched out, dude. We kind of we'll go 3 or 4 years between albums and things like that.
Right.
Without thinking, I think it was, what was it, between the last couple, it was like 8 or something like that, you know? So, I mean,
pretty much it was. Yeah, if it's spread out pretty far. When that spread out far like that, do you have your hands in other projects or do other things to keep the time going?
Man, like, I have a lot of stuff that I do, dude. I also do carpentry sometimes, man, and it's just because, bro, sometimes I can't sit still. Sometimes I just can't sit home and work on music. Sometimes I need to get out and do physical labor to feel good about myself. I don't know what the fuck it is. It's a mental thing, maybe it's a physical thing, maybe. But regardless, you know, for me, it's like I want to play and stuff and work on music, but then it gets to a point where I actually need to get out and get some physical things going on to sort of keep me happy, man.
Right. Where does this the tour coming up? Where does it start and where does it end?
I believe the first show is Houston, Texas, and I think the last show is Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Okay. And as far as like where everyone can get Morbid Angel merch and stuff like that, is there a certain place that you direct people to, or if someone's like, hey, where do I get something? You're like, hey, go.
There's always great merch. We're always doing kick-ass merch live, dude, on tour. At the shows, there's always cool merch that's the only place you can get it. And then, I mean, of course, we've got like the, you know, morbidangel.com, and you can find them on Morbid Angel on Instagram and Facebook and all these other things. Just, you know what I mean? Pretty much the standard.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And as far as the very first concert you ever went to, what was the very first metal concert you ever went to?
I honestly don't remember what the very first metal concert that I ever went to. The very first metal concert that I ever bought a ticket myself and waited to go to was I went and seen Overkill and Testament at Bogart's in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I don't even know what year it was. I know it was a long-ass time ago, but it was an awesome show.
And as far as the first metal album you ever bought, what was that?
Well, I guess that depends on your definition of album, dude. I mean, because, like, you know, I owned, like, you know, Shout at the Devil, and that was pretty fucking metal to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so, I mean, you know, it really depends. I mean, you know, when I was a kid, AC/DC was metal to me, man, you know. But as far as I remember, the first one that I ever bought myself, man, it could have very well have been, you know, something like Shout at the Devil, or I think it may have been Holy Diver by Dio, dude. I think that may have been the first one I ever purchased myself. Man, back then, dude, I dubbed everything, you know. Man, and my friends got a record, and I bought a cassette. You know, I'd buy a 3-pack of cassettes and record it. You know what I mean? So anything my friends got, I also had, you know. So there was a lot of that exchange amongst me and my friends, luckily, man. You know, when I was a kid, everybody listened to metal, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day, we listened to... I never understood why Wasp was thrown into hair metal. I didn't ever get that.
I love Wasp, bro. I fucking love Wasp.
My God.
That's a perfect example of one of those album covers that made you buy a record, you know? Like, I had grass-cutting money, man, and there it is, you know? I mean, the fucking skeleton all strapped up, you know what I mean? Oh, I'm buying this motherfucker. I mean, like, this has fire, skeletons, and chicks. I'm buying it, you know.
Oh, it was Wasp was one, King Diamond. I'll tell you a real fast, funny story real quick. I met King Diamond back in the day, and I ended up he was doing a signing at a record store, so I drove up there. It was hot as shit in St. Louis, Missouri. It's probably August. And I didn't know who it was King Diamond though at the time. There was a tour bus, and this guy outside, he looked like Dracula. He had glasses on, he had a cape, and he had makeup. And I didn't know who the fuck he was at the time. And I pulled up and I went in the store, and they're like, "Oh, this is from Merciful Fate and King Diamond." And I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I want to get an autograph." So they gave me an album picture with his face on it, and to go out there and get a signing. And so I stood in line, dude. It was hot as fuck, man. It was brutal. And I finally got to him. I was probably the second and the last dude to get to him. And I reached down and I gave him the thing, and I looked at him. I said, "It's kind of hot out here." And he looked at me, sweat pouring, his makeup's all messed up, and he goes, "You fucking think, kid? You fucking think it's hot?" And it was like, I looked like a damn idiot, but he just was like, that was my first time meeting, Mr. Peterson, King Diamond. I was just like, oh my God, But the guy just looked at me like, you fucking dumb shit. You think it's hot?
Well, dude, he's a sweet. He's going to be blunt and sarcastic anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so anyway, it goes. He was going to get a little bit of that regardless. You know what I'm saying?
He is the coolest dude, and he was
right on.
He came back inside, and I met him in the store, and he was just the most awesome dude. And he goes, "I'm sorry, he's sorry, getting mad." He goes, "It's fucking hot." He goes, "I shouldn't have wore what he wore. He wore what he wore on stage." And he was just like, I mean, he had to be brutally hot. It's just like, why did you wear that? But anyway, I'm looking forward to whatever you guys are coming out with as far as like a new album in the future, and definitely the tour. We'll be posting that on our magazine site. But thank you for doing the interview. Thank you for doing everything. And I appreciate the conversation and wish you nothing but the best of luck, man. And hopefully you come through St. Louis sometime, and we'll shoot the shit or whatever.
Dude, it's weird that we haven't. This is like our fourth American run, and we've not played St. Louis yet.
No,
we did. I think we did Kansas City last time or something like that. But I mean, that's what, 2 hours away or something. So
I don't understand.
Yeah.
St. Louis gets podcasts all the time, and I think it's just because it's one of the most dangerous cities in America. But
yeah, dude, you know what? I grew up in Cincinnati, and we don't play Cincinnati either, bro. Nobody does. You know what I mean? It's one of another one. It's a very similar city to St. Louis.
It's just very fucking dangerous here. People are like, "Oh, well, you've been to Chicago or L.A., dude. You ain't got nothing on St. Louis. You'll get popped in the fucking street as soon as you just walk out the fucking road. It doesn't matter." It's pretty bad, dude.
Yeah.
But hopefully, if it's close enough by, man, I'll try to make a trip or whatever like that. But anyway, wish you nothing but the best of luck, and thank you for doing the fucking interview. You guys, you're one of my idols, and I kind of look, I love Morbid Angels, but we'll just go from there, man. But thank you for doing the interview.
I appreciate it, man.
All right, take care, buddy.
Thanks, man. You have a great day, dude.
You too, buddy. Thank you.